What is going down? What up, Jay Eva? What up, Josh and DG? How's it going? We are waiting for Mr. Josh Kalis. So let me just put this up real quick. Passion to Josh. Hold on, everybody. And get some off gear. Alright, we're about to get Josh. Josh is so pro. I know he's already there. Where's he at? Where is Mr. Kalis? Where is Mr. Kalis? Let's see. Go live with. Let's find Josh Kalis. He's not up yet. He'll be here. He just likes to make us wait.
So what did you think of Painter?
He likes to make us wait. But that's all good. Josh is pro. He knows. Josh, where you at, man? Josh, you up in here?
Yeah.
What up, my guy? What up? Mellow Effect? The Mellow Effect. What is going down? We're waiting for Josh. He should be showing up any moment because he knows what to do. Let's check his, There he is. There he is. Waiting for Josh Kalis. Yeah!
You.
What is up, dude?
Dude, I almost blew it. I thought it was the other Huff, and it was this Huff.
Yeah, you know what? I was going to tell you that, but then I was like, man, he's smart.
Yeah, I got it. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I have this photo of you that I wanna like bring up immediately because it's pretty much like how I mostly envision me and you and skating with you. And so this is a photo that I shot of you in New York. Boom.
Oh, yeah, bam.
Yeah, at BAM, that back tail with RB in the background, right?
Yep.
Those blue and white, those shoes, that was your first shoe. And
Correct.
those blue and white suede ones, just like, because I think I shot so many photos of you, like at this point, like I think I shot the most stuff of you when that shoe just came out and that colorway just came out, you know?
Yep.
Like, so let me just ask you really quick. Well, where you at right now nowadays, dude? Because you were in Philly, you were in Chicago, you were in LA, you were in San Diego. Like, where are you at now?
I'm in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
That's kind of like where you're originally from, right?
Yep. And then I'm outside the city. I'm in the suburbs, but yeah, it's like a good hub. It's only an hour and 10-minute flight to Philly or New York or DC, and 2-hour drive to Chicago. It's just real easy for me to just kind of breathe and then just dip out when I got to dip out, you know?
Yeah, it's so crazy because because I know you're from Michigan, and the only photo of you in Michigan that stands out to me the most is like one of your first photos you ever shot with Mike Blayback. You were like doing a nose blunt slide on like a curb or something like that, and it's like that really stands out.
It's funny. That's the Target curbs. Like, yeah, we go to that Target, and I see those curbs all the time, and I'm just like, damn, it was so fun back then, you know?
Yeah.
There'd even be like rumbles back then, like, you know, where the jocks or whoever else would come in. We'd be like 20 deep skaters, and everybody be, you know, hollering at us. Then there'd be big fights in the Target parking lot. I mean, it was crazy. Yeah.
In Michigan, in Grand Rapids, Michigan, not Detroit. But Grand Rapids.
Nah, especially here because people just didn't like skateboarding. I mean, even still to this day, it's there's not like this massive skateboard scene here. It's still just a few people.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And that's cool. And then you were in, and it's funny too because it's like, but like there's that photo, and then there's like, I mean, I could think of 50 million photos of you in Philly. You know what I mean? But there was also like you had some really great photos. And did you live in San Francisco for a point too?
I did a couple different times actually.
Yeah, because I remember like again, you had that cover at Transworld doing the backside 180 with the bridge in the background.
Yep, I lived there. That's when I was with Lenny Kirk a lot.
Yeah.
Me
Oh,
and Lenny. And then I lived there with Drake Jones was my roommate for a while. Dude, James, I had to live with James Kelch for a few months in the
how was that?
Tenderloin. Oh, that was amazing, dude. He was like the king of the Tenderloin, but didn't have to be a pimp or a gangster or anything. But he was just like, you walk through at like 2 a.m. and it was just like, yo, what's up, Kelch? And it was like all these just pimps and hoes and shit. Like it was crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Well, it's kind of, and it's like, but there's some, I'm saying like, but like there's so that like you lived in SF and you had like this epic photo in San Francisco. You lived in Chicago. I think I want to say you did like I remember a photo of a Back Smith maybe on some flat bars in front of a museum or at the train station. There was like a flat bar. I think Stevie Switch crooked the flat bar.
Oh yeah. You talking about the big square one, the Keenan Milton, the Keenan Milton flat bar.
Keenan Milton flat bar.
Yeah.
What photo do you have on that?
You talking about the fakey nose grind with the
That's
clock tower in the background and all that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Who shot that? Playback?
I think it might have been it was Atiba for sure.
Oh, Atiba.
Because we shot that for the Josh and Freddie interview for the Transworld.
Oh, right. I remember that.
Yep.
But yeah, so it's like you lived in Chicago, you had an epic photo in Chicago. You lived in San Francisco, you had an epic photo in San Francisco. You lived in Philly, you had a lot of epic photos in Philly.
Thank you.
Somebody just commented about like the kickflip over the can that was the cover of Slap that Michael Mealy shot. And then there was like the 360 flip over the can that was a sequence that Playback shot. I mean, I just remember like, I would go down to Philly to meet up with you, and it would just be like we'd go to Love Park, get a quick sequence, get a quick photo, go get some food, and go home. Like, But you pretty much like have had everywhere you've been living, you've had like a pretty epic photo. Even like you had some epic San Diego photos that I remember Playback shot. Like when you were down there.
Well, thank you.
Well, I'm just saying, Josh, you've been out there, dude. I mean, everything I shot of you, I've been pretty stoked on. I'm gonna put this out there, and you could agree or disagree, but I'm gonna say you have one of, if not the best looking kickflip in all of skateboarding.
Oh shit! Thanks, Reda.
I mean, what would you say? Who would you say has the best one?
Man, I mean, there's just so many different ones. Like, there's like the Tom Penny, Andrew Reynolds, like where you use your whole board to flip it,
Yeah.
And then there's like the Kareem Campbell where it's just that like, you know what I mean? I mean, it's, I don't know. I mean, I was
even that Gons that doesn't really kick flip.
Yeah.
People's photos, their foot is out here, but Gons is like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I've always really liked Kareem Campbell's all his flip tricks. You know what I mean? Yeah. I just like how he kind of hooks them, It's just like it's just sick. Yeah.
Well, look, we got so many questions from people, so.
I haven't even, honestly.
That's all right.
I've been watching you, man. I love the beard, Just
thanks,
like,
dude.
Yeah.
Here's a good question. The tray flip, the boss blunt, probably tray flip nose blunt Barcelona, Kalis, and monopart. Tell us about that.
The tray flip nose blunt?
Yeah.
On the Sans, are they talking about the long one on Sans, I'm assuming, right?
Probably, yeah.
You know what? That was, I think it might have been raining, or I was with it was either Ruben Garcia or Thomas Winkle or somebody, and we were looking at that, and I didn't have a board with me for some reason. Maybe I broke one or something. But anyway, I used the filmer board, and I was just like envisioning a tray flip nose blunt originally I wanted to do the back 270 to nose blunt, but I never knew how to do that coming straight at the stairs like you had to there. So
Right.
and the thing wasn't very tall, you know. It was only 2 stairs tall, maybe not even 2 stairs, because Spain the stairs are, you know, pretty
Yeah, yeah,
small.
yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway, I was just messing around on the cruiser board and Trey flipping it into like just 1 foot. And then one time I jumped on it and the cruiser board slid a nose blunt, and I was like, oh shit. So I just went back and yeah, the one time I think my wheel caught, you know, there's like a little crack that runs the whole way,
Yeah.
and my wheel just kind of caught up in that crack, and off we went, dude. And yeah,
I
I don't
mean,
know.
you said 270 back nose blunt. I want to say that I shot the first one you did at Love Park.
Yeah, man. Yeah, with the track pants and the what were those? I think I was wearing some Rudies, maybe. I'm not sure.
Probably. I mean, dude, you always like the track pants, like everything. It was always like, I mean, what do you know what, dude? I see like, and he's one of my favorite skaters right now is like Johnny Shanahan. When like I was like, oh my god, he reminds me of like Josh in the '90s when we were all like skating together. Is it kind of weird for you to like kind of see like a dude like Johnny, like kind of like emulating like your old style? Like, I mean, it's pretty much your style now too, but it's just like, did you ever think that you would see somebody like be so inspired by you that like, you know?
No, I never thought that, but I think it's cool, you know.
I mean, I think it's
I
so
mean,
cool, and I think
like,
he's so rad, and you know what I mean. But it's like,
yeah, I love it. You know, I wore track pants back then because the summers on the East Coast were so hot that
yeah,
it was just easier to cool off and pull them up and, you know, let your calves breathe. And it was just, it wasn't really for like any type of fashion thing, in my eyes anyway. You know, it
yeah,
was, if it was sweatpants in the fall or spring and track pants in the summer, because they're so much easier to cool off with, you know.
yeah, hell yeah. Oh, Blayback's on here. He said, "What's up? What up, Mike?"
You blaze.
I mean, I feel like out of every photographer you shot with, Mike Blayback probably shot the most like epic photos of you. You know, what do you think is the best photo you ever shot with Mike?
Oh man, I don't know. You know what? Like we just recently were talking about this, and I had to pick. Honestly, the top 5 or 10 change like all the time. But yeah, me and Mike are just so like minded when it comes to how we want to see something for the most part. You know, it's we just work really well together, and sometimes we don't agree on where I'll be like, man, let's film it, let's shoot it like this, and then he'll be like, no, Josh, I see what you want to see, but it's gonna look better like this, and I'll be like, all right. So yeah, we just always work real good together, you know. Maybe it's because we're both from Michigan. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's also before we get to this question, I just want to comment on that. It's just like you as the skater, you know how to do the trick the best. Us as the photographers, like we know how to shoot it to make it look the best. It's like we
Yeah.
gotta like kind of like trust each other, you know.
Yep.
Here, what's your influences now that you're older and things change? I think that's a great question from Cloud Skipper.
What are my influences now?
Yeah.
What's interesting is I felt like when I grew up, I didn't really have too many influences, and so I mean, there was a couple. There was like the Embarcadero scene and stuff that was a big influence for me. But to be honest, I'm just now starting to realize what my influences were then because I'm using them to influence me now, you know? And I'm like, oh, that's what I really was into back then. So it's, I don't know, you know, like Michael Jordan was a big one for me.
I mean, you're watching that documentary, right?
Yeah, yeah, you know, like his work ethic. I mean, I'm sure just like everybody else that watches it, they attach themselves to it and figure out how much they have in common with somebody like that. But yeah, you know, I watch it, and just like in Philly where there was big divisions because people thought I was an asshole or a dickhead because I would try to motivate, and you know what I mean? I just try to put people on and give them a little direction on like, if you do this, then you could do this and blah blah blah. And next thing you know, you got like guys saying I'm an asshole, you know, and I was just trying to,
Yeah,
you know what I
trying to
mean?
get it sparked, you know?
Yeah, because for me, it's always like the more people to eat, the better, you know.
Yeah.
And I still feel that way, but the reality behind it is sometimes it's really not that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I don't know. I think nowadays my inspiration is a lot of the old stuff like that, and then my motivations are it's the same thing. It hasn't changed. It's like trying to get as many people to work together to build
Yeah.
something badass. You know?
Yeah. Well, didn't you like? What's the story? Like when you moved to Philly, wasn't it like like in your mind you were like, because Stevie really wasn't skating that much when you moved to Philly, right? And you were like,
Well,
I'm
that
gonna
was
find
the
Stevie.
that was the second time I moved to Philly.
Okay.
But the first time I moved to Philly is because my mother moved from Queens, New York,
Yeah.
to the suburbs of Philadelphia, and then so when I had issues with my dad when we were in Dallas, I dipped up to stay with my mom, which ended up not working out either. Maybe I was the problem. But anyway, yeah, and so I really liked Philly, but then there was a lot of issues that came with that because I was a scapegoat for a lot of people that were down there. So with Ricky Oyola and a bunch of these other dudes. So when I left Philly for that, and that's all the San Francisco stuff went down, and I went back to Dallas. I mean, there was so many trips that when I did go back to Philly, I went there just to visit with Olivia, which is now my wife.
Yeah.
And it had changed. There was no Ricky and like those guys just weren't there anymore. And the first time I lived in Philly, Stevie was real young.
Yeah.
And but we had always seen each other over the next couple of years, whether it was in San Francisco, mostly in San Francisco. So we always kept that relationship. But yeah, when I was just visiting, I was walking around just like, damn, nobody is using and abusing this place. And yeah, that's when I ran into Stevie, and I was like, oh shit, if I move back, let's do this. And he was just
Yeah.
like, if you move back, holler at me. And how I don't remember exactly how that conversation went, but
Right. Right. Right.
yeah, I moved back and kept my promise, and you know what I mean. And we just
Yeah.
took it from there.
I mean, yeah. And then you guys did that Transworld part together. That was mind blowing.
Yeah, yeah.
What
I
was?
mean, that Transworld part was actually it was supposed to be a job part,
Right.
and at the time I was trying so hard.
Oh, Josh, you froze
Like,
up.
hey,
There you go.
you froze up a little bit. There you go.
That's all right. Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to get him on Alien hard, man, and
Yeah.
so I was like, "You want to do this video? You get in my part and do this," and like that was my. Yeah, I try to just get it done that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But you got on chocolate.
Yeah, and it worked for the DC bit too.
Yeah. And
Yep.
DC, yeah, you've been. And how long have you been on DC now? Because I feel like it's like Danny, Colin, and then you have been on the longest, right?
Yeah, I got on. I'm trying to remember. I think, well, if my shoe came out in '99, I got my shoe 1 year after I actually got on the team. So '97, maybe, probably '97. And then, but I was on Flow for a couple of years.
Yeah.
They had me
And
traveling all over the place, Australia, doing all kinds of shit. But I wasn't even on the team. And, yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much your longest sponsor, right? Because you were on Toy Machine, right? Toy
Yeah.
Machine, then Alien, and then DGK. But DC has been, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
who?
DC's been pretty much the whole time. And I mean, there was a couple little shoe sponsors before that, but
Yeah.
Alien was 13 years. And I think I'm pushing, God, I got to be pushing 10 or so on DGK right now.
Wow. And how long were you on Toy Machine for?
Not too long.
Not too long. But that
Not too
cover,
long.
that Transworld cover in San Francisco was Toy Machine, right?
Alien.
Oh, already Alien.
Yep.
You would. So we had a question from this guy, Jay Lorio. I'm just going to Lorio. He put a question in that I thought was really good. Like, what was the sketchiest thing you've ever seen in Love Park? Because I've been there not nearly as many times as you, and I've seen some sketchy shit at Love Park.
Mm. I think off the top of my head, the sketchiest thing I ever saw is I seen this kid get clean knocked out, uh, skateboard to the head. You know, because there would be like this little game. It's not really game, but that's the wrong word. But um, the like a little homie that didn't skate would come up and talk to you if they didn't know who you were. And while you're talking to the little homie, somebody would just come up right behind you and just smack your head. I mean, I'm talking like wham, and people would drop to the ground, and then the little homie would grab the board and take off running.
Wow.
Nobody would know the better. I mean, and then maybe if you were like okay, you could buy your board back, or like
Yeah.
there was weird wheeling and dealings, and yeah,
Yeah.
people pissing in cups and throwing cups of piss on people, and it was just a different world back then, you know.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's crazy too because it's like they would never let you skate there, but like the skaters kind of like it was better when the skaters were there. It was like probably safer when they were there, you know?
Yeah, well, these stories I'm talking about are when you could skate there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there
Gee.
was like when I first started skating, or we'll say the second time I was there. I mean, no, the first I don't remember one of them times. It was like you'd be in the city and the cops would like tell you to go skate Love. I mean, you could skate. Love was the spot to skate. Like you were allowed to skate there for quite a long time
Yeah.
until um the next time I moved back, it was like starting to get pretty illegal, you know. But yeah,
Yeah.
back in the day, you could skate there, and it was like I think it was those instances that kind of blew it out, and that's when the city really started recognizing it, you know.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, you had a cover at Love Park too. That nose blunt slide. Who shot that? G.
Yeah, that was at City Hall across the
City
street.
Hall.
Hmm.
Of course, you're right. Here's
Yeah.
This is a really good question because we're talking about Love Park. We talk about the negatives, but now let's talk about the positive. What's the best memory from Love Park and its scene? This is a great question. So far, Alberto J. Santiago, I think, is going to get a box from Huff because this is a good question. So what do you think? What's your best memory from Love Park and its scene?
Man, trying to pick one memory would be really hard. I do remember multiple times just being there and
Yeah.
just looking around and just being like, holy shit, there's like 6 pros that are skating. There's like 14 or 15 like sponsored kids skating, and they
Yeah.
all either live there or around the city or something. I mean, it was just, I
Yeah.
just remember being in so awe of like how crazy it was, you know?
I had the same memory at the Brooklyn Banks. You know what I mean? Like you just go there, even like when you would come to town. You know what I mean? It would be like you would be there, like it would be like the zoo guys would be there. Would be like Danny Supa and Anthony Correa, maybe Jeff Pang, and then Peter BC, and just like and you're just looking around like this is amazing. Like this, and then you had like Papalardo and Wenning and all those guys at the time, and it's just
Yeah.
like you know what I mean? And then like there was the older dudes that would be there and Steve Rodriguez. And, like anyway, like it's just that same exact kind of feeling where you're like, wow, this is kind of incredible that you're there for it. You know what I mean?
I mean, I remember I'd go to New York every weekend, pretty close to it, and
Yeah.
I always felt like such an outsider. And as lame as that sounds, it was so motivational though, because dudes like Ryan Hickey and Peter Beasy and all the guys that are hanging out in front of Supreme and then going to the banks and doing all that. I mean, they're from New York. Reda from New York,
Yeah.
and it's like I'm not from New York,
Yeah.
so how can I navigate through this to not be disrespectful, but not also be like, hey, like me, but at the
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
time, it's like I want to skate with y'all and skate the same things y'all are skating. Like, how do you do that? And navigating through that in New York was crazy back then for
Yeah.
me.
And you did it. You navigated it perfect.
Yeah,
You know?
thank you, but yeah, it was always awkward for a while, you know.
Yeah, but it was just but that's the thing too, because then we'd like skate with because I remember skating. It would be like me, you, RB, Danny Supa, Todd Jordan, then like Jason Dill, Anthony Papalardo, Freddie Gall, like
Yeah,
this day on this photo that I have up on this exact day when we found this broken piece of metal. I think I shot like 6 photos on this that day. Freddie was there. He crooked grinded it into the street. You backtailed it and backsmithed it, and then we turned it sideways and you kick flipped over it,
yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
I mean, there was so much went down. What do you think? Speaking of Love Park, like, what do you think the gnarliest trick that you've ever seen go down at Love is?
Oh man, you're hitting me with some heavy ones.
Yeah, did I mean we only got like another half an hour at least. Yeah,
You know,
most. You know what I mean?
you know what? A lot of like Stevie stuff that was just so smooth and clean was
Yeah,
it was just so satisfying to watch. You know, he almost hard flipped the can. That would have probably been it to bump the can.
yeah.
He was landing on it and all that, and the cops came.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, or I'd probably say, dude, Chris Cole backside flipping the love gap was pretty
I mean,
heavy.
that's
Uh,
amazing.
watching Papalardo trying to switch flip it was probably one of
Yeah.
the
His
craziest
switch
things.
ollie down that was gnarly. You know, it was super gnarly, and it's like whenever I think of Love Park, it sticks out to me. One was Freddie ollieing up onto the ledge and then ollieing over and grinding that gap to 50-50 in that
Yeah,
flat bar was
yeah,
super gnarly. And I always loved there was the ledge off the stairs around the side. That
yep.
fakie 5-0 you did off that was
Oh,
pretty sick.
thanks, man. Thanks.
So that was a good one. Hey man, we shot like switchback 5-0 there. That same day we shot a sequence of switchback 5-0, and then you did back 270 nose blunt.
Yeah,
And then
I
I
remember
think we
that.
went we went to like another spot where it was like a ledge over a gap and you nose blunt slid it.
Ledge over gap.
Yeah, it was like it was supposed to be the cover of Skateboarder, and I think they did I think they went with Costin. But it was like
Costin.
Cost. I mean, Cost. You know. No,
No,
but it
that's
was
cool.
like it was. I gotta. You know what? I might have it. I might have it right here. And if I got it, I'll just show it to you, and you'll be like, "Oh yeah, that one. Oh, here it is." I was super stoked the way this came out too. This one. I mean, it wasn't at Love.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that thing was kind of spooky to skate.
Yeah,
You had to
because you had to
you had to
ollie up the
ollie up the
curb.
curb.
There was like a
Yeah,
curb, right? You would come from the street and then ollie up the curb, and then you know.
the gap at the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway, those were a good days. Yeah, and all of Stevie's lines at Love were always so smooth. Like, you know,
yeah,
always super smooth. You know. All right, let's check some more questions, man.
yeah. I haven't even been able to look.
Yeah, I have like a little. There's like a little question place when you can ask questions. Um. Uh. This is a good question. How do you deal with negative energy you receive? I mean, you were kind of just talking about it a little bit, but
I don't know. I just try to flip negative energy into positive energy. It's the only thing that you can do, or else you're just gonna live in a depressive state. And once, in my opinion, once you get to that point, it's just gonna be so hard to dig out. So I just use negative energy to try to motivate me to turn it into positive. I mean, I know that sounds like really difficult, but it's I just put music on, or
yeah,
it could be like vacuuming my house or what. It's not always going to translate into going to skate. It's going to be like put a certain type of song on and clean the floor or work on a car. Try to do something that is productive. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
And it always works somehow. Like no matter how crazy I'm feeling, if I just go do something productive that I don't even want to do,
yeah,
as long as the music's right, and
yeah,
and when I look at it when I'm done, and I'm like, damn, it's actually clean.
yeah.
you know? Yeah.
It's funny too because I remember because I'd be around you when you would catch like heat for whatever, and I always kind of like thought I was like you kind of just didn't give a fuck and did exactly what you were gonna do anyway. So
Yeah. Nowadays it's like I give a fuck, and I used to back then. You know what I mean? But it would just be a driver to kind of fix that problem, whatever the problem might be. You know what I mean? There's like
yeah,
9 times out of 10, there's a way to fix it, and maybe you can't fix it with that person that has an issue or whatever, but you can
yeah.
fix yourself by just yeah.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm going to say you did something right because Jeff Pang is up in here and he said, "What's up?"
Oh, what's up, Hank?
So,
Oh yeah.
um, yeah, this is a good question too from Lono 1496. How did you progress as a skater during those Michigan winters?
We would go skate the parking garages downtown. I mean, they were still cold as shit, but with the Michigan winter, I was so young. It's like as long as it was dry and you found a dry spot on the ground, or
Yeah.
we would take the bus downtown and, like I said, go into those parking garages. And those are even hard to find dry spots because all the cars dragging snow down there and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it was just all about trying to find somewhere dry.
It
But
worked out.
I didn't care about the cold back in the day. I mean, we even liked it when it was, freezing. Not anymore, but back then it was cool.
Yeah. Hell
And
yeah.
we, you know what, we had a little skate park too. I didn't really get to go there a lot because it was like an hour away from me.
Yeah.
But yeah, K-Zoo Skate Zoo. We would go to skate there sometime.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Jeff just said he loves you and loves me. I love you too, Jeff.
That's what's up.
Hell yeah. But yeah, because I mean, growing up in New York, the winters are just brutal. You know what I mean? So this is a cool question. So Josh, what's your favorite trick you've done?
Damn. Ah man, I don't know. Probably it would probably be something like, I mean, everyone's gonna think it's like the tray over the can or the switchback tail on Hubbard or something, but it'd probably be something a little more random. I don't know.
Dude, I mean, well, think about it, but like, let's get back to that switchback tail on Hubba. Like, I remember it was like a drawers ad, and for some reason, I remember looking at it and just thinking, like, why aren't more people talking about this? This is insane. It didn't even look switch. It was it was insane. It was so smooth. Like, what? Tell about that. Do you remember that day? Like, what was going on that day? Did you go there to do that trick, or did it just kind of like evolve into that?
Well, I'd had to do it twice, really.
Really?
Yeah. The first time I tried it, I was with RB, and it was like getting dark, and maybe I don't remember who else was with us, but we were just cruising past Hubba, and I I don't know. I just started switch ollieing next to it, just kind of like kicking my board at it. And I ended
Yeah.
up locking. I ended up locking one in that night, and that's the one that was used for the Alien Workshop ad. But I bruised my heel real bad, like
Right.
super bad. So, and then went back again. However much, and I don't really remember this day too much, but I remember there was a gang of people up there, and it was like that's when you can really try and show and prove. When when all your peers are there, all the
Yeah.
locals are
Yeah.
there. And that was the first one I did, which ended up being in time code. But it was like a non-photographer thing. Uh, Chad, I think Chad filmed it. He didn't film for like any companies. He was just like
Oh,
the home.
Muska.
No, no, no. It was no. What? Who was it? Brad. Maybe it was
Oh,
Brad Johnson. Was it Brad? No, I can't. I don't
somebody,
remember.
somebody, somebody's gonna be on here and tell you exactly who it
The
is. But
homie
wait, and who
filmed it.
shot the sequence of it? Because there was a sequence. It was a drawers ad.
Right. Well, after making it, Blayback, I think that the DC guys heard about it, and this is me and Blayback do this all the time. The tray flip at Love, the switchback tail at Hubba. I mean, you name it. It's like,
Right.
hey, heard you made this, and I said, yeah, and they were like, well, we would want that for a drawers ad, so we're sending up, Oh, it wasn't Blayback. Was it Blayback? Nah, it wasn't Blayback this time, but
Was it like?
it was I forget his name too. But anyway, he flew up and shot it. And so that was the second time I had to do it.
Was it Ballard?
Ballard. That's who it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it Ballard? I don't know.
Because he was working for DC before Blayback.
I don't know. You know what? Those days sometimes with the names and who it was, and
Yeah.
because we would shoot. Sometimes we would shoot things multiple times with different photographers, and like that was a big no. But it
Yeah, it was a
wasn't.
big no-no.
But it wasn't my decision. So I would shoot it with who I was just rolling with at the time, and then
Yeah.
sometimes they would just be like sending somebody else up to shoot it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean that happens a lot because I remember like going up to Philly and just trying to like shoot like you or Stevie or somebody, and then they would like another photographer will walk up and be like, "Oh, I was already trying to shoot this yesterday," and I was like, "Well, don't tell me. I don't
Yeah.
know what to tell you." You
But no,
know?
me and Blayback have to do that all the time. Like I'll film something, and he'd be like, "Hey, I got to come shoot that," fly out, and I would just be like, kind of stressing a little bit.
Yeah.
But
And I,
sometimes the second one would come out better than the first one as far as footage goes,
yeah, and it'd
Yeah.
be funny because it's even like the same. And Blayback was like, I mean, Mike Blayback is one of my favorite photographers ever. And but I just even remember like Stevie doing a trick. I don't even remember what it was. And I was like, "Oh, Stevie, let's shoot that." He's like, "I already shot it with Blayback," and I was like, "I can't on that, dude."
But me and you had a good run with all that New York stuff and all that.
Yeah,
I
man,
love rolling around with you. You
it
took
was
me to
fun,
your
dude.
house and shit. Like it
Yeah,
was dope. Yeah,
yeah. I remember.
I'd always
I
be
was,
asking you about mob stories and shit. I'm like, yo, is this a mob neighborhood? And I would just be picking your brain on some mafia shit. Just
and then I'd be like, "Yo, no."
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was funny.
But
I
what's
love
funny
it.
too is that I told this story the other day, and it was I was going to Philly because the Girl Chocolate guys were going to be down there skating, and they, I think Ty Evans was working for them at the time, and he called me up and he's like, "Oh, come, you want to come down to Philly for like a week and shoot with us?" And I'm like, "Yeah, definitely," And you came up to New York, you drove up, and then I was like, "Cool, we'll skate, and then I'll drive back with you because I'm gonna go meet up with the girl guys." And you were like, "Bet." And I remember we stopped at the South Street Seaport and shot cab back nose blunt on the ledge, and then jumped back in the car and drove down to Philly.
You know what?
You know?
When you asked me earlier, like, what's one of my favorite tricks? I mean, that would be one of them. Just it
Yeah.
was super random. It was the longest one I've ever done, and I don't even remember what happened to that.
It
Did we
was
shoot a
with the
sequence?
sequence. It was in Skateboarder. Like we did a Skateboarder interview. It was that photo I showed, that nose blunt. It was that sequence. It was a switchback 5-0 sequence. You did a switch front shove at BAM.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
You did. I'm trying to think what else. I think that 360 flip was in there.
Yeah, see
Um,
that kind of stuff is my favorite stuff. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah. The big, like, iconic or whatever you want to call it stuff usually
yeah,
isn't my favorite. My favorite is just literally car, backpack, cruise
yeah,
around, just
yeah, man.
catching clips that you wouldn't normally catch.
Yeah, and your 360 flip is incredible. Jeff Pang even commented like you have one of the best 360 flips ever, and it's just like, and I'm gonna say like my top five 360 flips, and I can't even decide who would be number one, but it would be like you're definitely in there, 100%. Josh Kalis, Jason Lee, you know, um, Brian Anderson has an amazing 360 flip.
Kareem.
Kareem had a great 360 flip.
Oh,
Uh,
Javante.
Javante's 360 flip.
Honestly, I base my favorite 360 flips off flat ground 360 flips. Just how
Yeah,
they look when they do them on flat. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, your 360. I mean, didn't you had a sequence 360 flipping down like 5 stairs? Like I think you 360 flipped down the 5 6 stairs. It was at the courthouse, and it was in slat like O'Mealy shot it, and it was just like incredible. Yeah, Jeff Pang just said Javante.
Hey, you
Hell
know what's
yeah.
funny though is Pang being in here. I just got to say, one of my favorite photos of all time is the Jeff Pang photo. I think O'Mealy shot it of Pang just like skating down the street in New York City.
Oh, right after 9/11.
Oh my God, dude, that photo! I've been trying to get one. I tried to steal one from the Trans World office, and Blair kept busting me. He's like, "You're looking
Why
a
don't
little
you
too
just hit
close
up
to that."
O'Mealy?
Yeah, I will.
Just
But
hit
I
him
love
up,
that
dude.
photo. Like I
Huh?
want that. I want that photo to cover my whole wall in the shop.
Dude, I mean, you know who shot it? It's Michael Mealy. You've
Yeah,
shot a lot of photos of Michael. Michael Mealy shot a cover of you. I mean,
I
I
know.
think you could call him and talk to him.
Yeah, I probably should, huh?
Yeah, probably, definitely.
That's what's up. I love that photo, man. It's crazy.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I shot a photo of Jeff doing a back lip in Brooklyn, and it was on like a really high ledge, and I shot it like from the front, and then I shot it from the back because he was just doing them, like So I shot at both angles, and they made a Zoo York ad of it, where instead of it being like a 2-page spread like this, they made it like this. So, and Eli, who laid it out, put this like clear acetate around the photo, and he scratched in Zoo York, and then like he took a photo of it, and then like when you turned the page over, it was backwards. So it
Damn,
was
that's
like the
sick.
front and the back. It was like, it's probably the best thing I've ever shot of Jeff Pang, and it was like my favorite Zoo York ad I've ever shot. Like one of my favorite ones, you know, like just like the imagination and using both of them, you know, was really, really, really kind of awesome, you know.
Well,
But
Pang, I
and Pang
broke
looked
a
so Guido in that picture too. He had like
yeah
slicked up hair. He had like
yeah.
white t-shirt, acid wash jeans, and white leather sneakers. And I remember shooting it, being like, "Yo, man, Jeff looks like he's from Bensonhurst. Like this is dope."
I broke a VHS tape watching Pang in the intro of the Zoo York mixtape video,
Right.
and it all came together perfect. Like, you know, where he does the back lip. I think it's like in a parking garage, maybe.
It was in like a warehouse type of thing.
Yeah, but then
Yeah,
you
yeah.
had whoever was DJing had the Rasco song, and it was the way that they like spun it, and they were juggling the beat, and it slowed down and Pang like slow mo back lip. It was like one of them things that I just kept on. It was one of those motivation moments. You know what I mean?
RB, dude. That was
It was
RB
sick.
edited that. Like,
Yeah,
I think it was Reda maybe was DJing.
maybe, yeah.
You know.
But I never heard of Roscoe until that, and I had to find out who that was and what music it was, and I played it in my car 5 times everywhere I went, and all I'd envisioned was that back lip, and that translated to like future stuff that I filmed, and I would just have that vision in my head somehow, and try to replicate it, not with that trick, but just replicate the vibe. You know what I mean? Yeah. Thanks, Pang.
Yeah, hell yeah. So I want to like you kind of like really big into like sports cars, right? Like Porsches and BMWs and all that. Like, do you have a bunch of cars? Like, what's the deal with that?
Yeah, unfortunately, because it is the most expensive habit in the world, and it's an arena that I really shouldn't be playing in, you know. But it's just like skate with a passion, you know what I mean? And yeah, I just like them. I like the way they look. I just like everything about them. You know what I mean?
I mean, I remember being in a couple of cars with you when you were going real, real fast.
Well, I used to street race in Philly. Like, I'd skate all day, and then it'd be like, oh shit, it's midnight. Let's go. And then we would go down to the street races in South Philly and just wreck shop and run from the cops doing that too.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, how many cars do you got right now?
Well, there's my daily, wife's daily, and then 2 play cars.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah.
2 isn't bad, you know?
Yep. And none of it's like new money cars. It's all the same flip from years and years and years ago. You know what I mean?
Oh, so it's kind of it's like you buy a house and then you live in it. You buy a bigger one, like kind of like that, you know?
Yeah. Because I see people be like, "Damn, skating paying the bills," and yeah, skate pays the bills, but at the same time, it's like I've been doing skating and getting paid and stuff for a long time, and it's like they're just, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
And then the Camaro I built. So me and a couple
that's
friends built the Camaro. So I got to save a ton of money by doing a lot of it myself. So
yeah, that's dope. Here, this is a great question because, you know, there's those stories that you hear that's like you don't know if it's the truth or the legend, and this is one of those. This is one of those questions. I heard you paid the cops off with shoes. Is that true?
That is absolutely correct.
What? Tell the story.
Well, they had an undercover task force down there. So
where was this? This is in Philly, right?
Yeah, at Love Park. Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, it was just known. People would try to take pictures of them to try to get like good visuals on what they look like, you know.
Right.
But one day I was standing on South Street in front of Elite Skate Shop, and I seen the 2 main undercover cops in their car driving down South Street, and they got stopped at the red light. So I ran up to them. I said, "Yo, you guys are those cops downtown?" And they were like, "Oh yeah, skateboarder." And I said, "What size shoe you wear?" And they told me, and I said, "Wait here." and they held up traffic. I ran in the shop, grabbed 2 pairs of Kalisuses, brought them out, and it was the Kalis ones that had the Love Park on the box. And I was like, here, this is what we do, you know? And they were blown away by it. So then they would just start coming to love and tell us not to run. Like, hold on, let me talk to you. And we would hide our boards in trees or in garbage cans,
Right.
whatever. So we didn't have to run all the time, you know? And
Yeah.
they just started coming up and they'd be like, hey, okay, if you guys are filming and you see us across the street, just put your hand up so we know that you're filming. And when you're done, just kind of walk away. And then when we see you guys walk away, then we'll come in. And so it was like a trade-off, you know what I mean?
Right. Well, that's cool.
Yeah, it was all right.
Did you kind of tell everybody, or did you kind of keep that to yourself?
We told most people, you know what I mean? It was like you couldn't like everyone told everyone when the cops are coming. So, you know, if we seen them across the street and I put my hand up and I would try to film something,
right?
And if I got it or got tired or whatever, I would let everybody know. I say, yo, 5-0 across the street, and then put my hand up, and everybody would split as they were crossing the street. And it was like you had to be some kind of idiot to not see everybody running and leaving and packing up their shit. To get a ticket, you know. But before that happened, it was like those cops were coming in and cuffing people and taking them down underneath City Hall and the concourse and like
which is such a waste. Yeah.
Yo, but they were like robbing kids and shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that sucks.
So I look at it like it kind of helped out in a way because now we got a big heads up. But the cops were getting frustrated with me because they always wanted to meet Stevie, and Stevie would not fucking do it. He was like, "Nope, I'm out." He was just
here, this is another question. This dude sent in some really good questions. So here's another one that he just sent. Oh, you're frozen. Oh, here we go.
Froze?
No, you're good. You're good.
Right.
What's the best lesson or experience skating has given you? Lono 1496 has actually been given the best question, so I think we're gonna send him a huff box. So.
The best what was it? What have I got out of it?
Yeah, what's the best experience, life lesson you kind of got out of skateboarding?
Man, I'm gonna be honest with you. It's just recognizing that skateboarders are from all different walks of life, different musics, different. I mean, it's just kind of like being a skateboarder has helped all of us skateboarders be more like worldwide type people, you know what I mean? And I think we're way more acceptant on just everything, you know, like it doesn't matter who you are, where you're from or whatever. And then so that translates into regular life, you know, where some people get real bent out of shape and frustrated with other people because they might not be like them or they might have different views. But skaters just really don't give a fuck. And, you know, I like to let people know that, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. You don't have to not you don't have to not like that dude because he looks different or he thinks different or whatever. It's like because I'm sure deep down you guys got something in common. You know what I mean? And
hell yeah. Well, yeah. Fat Bill is on here. He just says, "Help you not be closed-minded." Hell yeah.
Yeah. What's up, Bill?
What up, Bill? He also said he had a great comment. He said somebody held up his camera bag and they dropped it and broke the fisheye lens right off it.
What? Just recently?
No, when you were talking about like holding up your stuff so the cops know that you're filming, somebody held his bag up.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
But me and Bill used to get it in back in the day. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny too because when I started like shooting photos and skating, it was like, you know, because I always thought like I'm never gonna leave. Like I'm not even gonna go to Manhattan. I'm never gonna leave Brooklyn. You know what I mean? Like I would just, but once you like kind of getting a camera and going skating, and you kind of just realize like, you know, that the world is a really big place, and it just kind of like opened me up to so many new ideas and people and things and experiences. It's just like me and you being friends for over 20 years and shooting all those photos that we've shot, and you know what I mean? Like to me, that's like one of the biggest things in skateboarding. You kind of trip out on all the people that you know, and you know, you're walking in random cities and places, and you'd run into people that you know. Like I was talking to Gorecki, and Gorecki was like, "Yo, I was in Dubai. I was in Dubai with his wife, with his lady. She was doing a show, and he goes to the skate park, and he goes, and Chris Markovich is at the skate park.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
it's crazy.
It's such a random, amazing thing, you know.
You know what else I learned too is
What?
that I think a lot of us have gone through no monies and stuff like that, and we've slept 8 deep in a studio apartment, and I mean, we really grinded it out a lot. Most skaters have because they don't give a shit. They just want to wake up and skate, you know. And
Yeah,
that translates into real life too, because it's like cars and houses and whatever it may be. It's like at the end of the day, most skaters can just walk away from that and live in a studio apartment and walk around. It just kind of just doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
I think it just really makes people humble when you grow up as a skateboarder.
yeah. And I think being a skater too, and especially our generation, was like, it's like it was very DIY. You know what I mean? Like you just figured it out. Like it was
Yeah,
like what was it like? Chris Rock and Jerry Seinfeld were doing comedians in cars, and he talks about. I
yeah,
think it was Chris Rock was like, who's gonna be okay? Skaters are gonna be okay. Skateboarders.
yeah. I remember
I was
that.
like, what? Why do you say that? He's like, because you ever see skateboarders? They sit there and they try 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 until they do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's just like that's the thing. It's like, no matter what happens, especially now, all this shit going on, COVID and quarantines and all this fucking crap. It's like we'll be okay. We're gonna figure it out. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
for sure.
whether you have the best sponsors in the world or no sponsors in the world, you're gonna figure it out.
Yeah,
Like being a skater, it gives you that. I feel like you get such an edge off being a skater. You know what I mean?
I think so too.
So,
I agree.
but wait, let's check another question. Let's see. Uh, Here's a cool question. What trick took you the longest to film for your DC video?
Hmm. Damn, I don't know. The DC video. I'm looking over there because I got a poster, so I was looking for a reminder on what that was. I don't know about the DC video, but I think one of the tricks that took me the longest in general was the switch backside flip over the Bezos bump to bar in Barcelona.
Oh
The one
wow.
that's like
Yeah, yeah.
that was 2 trips to Spain over 2 years and like 6 times to the spot or something like that. That shit was
Wow.
hard.
I mean, and that's
Yeah,
going all the way to Barcelona. Like I'm going back to
yeah,
get that trick.
yeah. But, I mean, I was going back to Barcelona anyway, but it was like, yeah, that one was tough. But as far as the DC video goes, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Could have been the switch heel over the can line, maybe. Because
Oh yeah.
that one was tough. That ended up having to do that kind of earlier in the morning because the cops were pretty bad around those times.
Yeah.
So,
Um. Well, I mean, we've only got like a couple of minutes left, so let's kind of. Well, first of all, I'm going to say Lono1496 DM the Huff Worldwide Instagram with your address and your size, and we're going to send you a box because we liked your questions the best.
yeah, congrats.
So what do you? Here's my last question for you, and I'll give you and I'll. Oh, Fat Bill is like, you did that quick. That line. He's like, you did
Oh,
that
then
quick.
yeah, maybe I'm tripping. I don't know.
um, my last question to you is: well, did you ever go like just kind of like you had no plans to film anything or shoot anything? You're just going out to skate, and all of a sudden it turns into like an epic day, like, and you get like an epic trick, or like it just happened that
Like that day with you. The day with you with the cab back nose blunt.
Oh yeah.
You know what? I think the majority of the time I film it ends up like that. It's really rare when there was a plan to actually want to go do something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It always like I think even the first time. I mean, Bill. I'd have to ask Bill, but since he's on here, like the varial heel over the bump to can like that. That was when the girl and chocolate dudes were there, and I popped up that tile
Yeah.
for those guys to skate it, and I was trying to front shove it, and it kept half flipping on me. So I remember going to Grecky and Plahowski and being like, "Yo, you guys are the varial heel dudes. Like, you could do this. This is your shit. Like, it's accidentally flipping on me, you know."
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, they weren't into trying it. So I said, hey, Blayback, I might be able to do this. And just bang, first try, sequence, varial heel the can. Not
Yeah.
on accident, but it came as an accident. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And
Bill just
so,
said was not planned.
yeah, and I don't even know if the tray flip that day was planned. All that stuff is just, it was planned when Blayback shot it because
Yeah. Yeah.
that was the second time. But
Well, that was your guys' MO. You would go do something, and then Playback would come later and shoot it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because I have like a similar story. I remember like being in California, and I went out skating